Good evening, everybody. There you are. Welcome to Markup Monday. Glad to have you on. I missed y'all so much. Greetings from Dallas, Texas. I am back in the country, back home, and I want to start by appreciating you all so much, saying thank you for your amazing messages, for your prayers. Those of you who supported me financially as I did ministry in the Holy Land, your love does not go unnoticed. Thank you for what you do to help ministry go forward in this space. I am honored and I am grateful for the opportunity to serve in this space. So thank you, Sister Janice Jones, who has the number one spot on tonight. And I see that so many of you are on. Thank you so much. Please be sure to share this video. You can share it now, share it into your personal spaces. And be sure to click that thumbs up like button. Be sure to do that. The Holy Land was absolutely fantastic. And something came up today. So if you are already connected to the International Sunday School Department for the Church of God in Christ on their Facebook page, I want to invite you tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I and a few others who were on the trip will be sharing about our time in Israel. No, we can't tell it all, but we're going to certainly share some highlights with you. And we'll be answering questions and things like that. So I really am excited to share that. It was a beautiful, beautiful trip. Over 140 people participated. And I think I made a post about this, that you can go to Israel again and again, and it does not get old. There's always something else that you can see, something else that you will learn. So, Sister Marcy, right? Anyone else having problems getting? Um, yeah, Sister Marcy, I can't answer that in this space. This is that Sunday School Girl. Most people, it depends on who your publisher is. I think both publishers actually have had difficulty. I can say that at a high level. I know that my church yesterday received the commentary, so those were distributed, and we use UMI. But I have seen notes. So, yes, there are people who are having challenges. No, I cannot speak to the holdup, but I've done my best in this space to make sure that you have downloads available for all of the lessons. And the kid pack for this lesson has been produced every week. So hopefully that helps you with your 7 to 11-year-olds and gives them some activities that they're able to get around. So I don't represent any publisher, don't work for any publisher, don't have that kind of relationship. I ordered all my materials just like everybody else. So I get them when I get them as well. But let's go ahead and get into the lesson for this week. This is the legacy content lesson. So if you use either UMI or COGIC Publishing, that is this Markup Monday. If you use David C. Cook, Pathways, any of those other publishers that are on the standard series, I'll see you back here at 7:45 p.m. I'm going to go off and come back on, but that's how this is going to work in this new Sunday school year. I will always do the UMI Kojic lesson first, and then I will do the bonus Markup Monday at 7:45. So let's pray, and we're going to get into our lesson, which is titled Faith Inspires Gratitude. Father, we thank you and bless you for this opportunity for us to be together in this space. Thank you for the opportunity to learn and to grow. Thank you for building our faith through this lesson series. Thank you that you're challenging us on what it means to have faith and to walk out this faith every single day. Thank you that you love us enough to give us these spaces and community where we feel loved and supported. I pray tonight that you'll open up our minds, our hearts, our understanding to receive what you'll have for us as we approach this lesson this week. We love you tonight. We give you glory. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Before I read, I do want to make sure that you know that I started something new this quarter, and we're seeing how it goes. It's a test to see if it's helpful to you all, because I don't want to be busy being busy. But if you're catching Sunday school, the daily reading in 30 seconds. You can find it on Instagram. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on TikTok, where I'm literally sharing a 30-second recap of the daily reading for the day. And I hope that you'll share back with me what you gain out of the readings as well. I say that to say, as we go into this lesson reading, that our daily readings really help us to layer in those additional things that we can learn and sort of add to the substance of our teaching of the lesson for the week. We're going to Hebrews again, chapter 12, verses 18 through 29. Faith inspires gratitude. And I will read. By the way, I downloaded the pre-printed lesson. So I sent that to you by email this morning. They've been on the website for 3 weeks. You can take the pre-printed download, or you can download the freebie and write them in yourself. But anyway, I have already pre-read because the way my schedule is running now, I can't afford to wait until Monday anymore to get started. Life is nutty. Let's go. For ye are not coming to the mount that might be touched and that burned with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest and the sound of a trumpet and the voice of words, which voice they that they heard entreated them that the word should not be spoken to them anymore. For they could not endure that which was commanded. And if so much that a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. But ye are coming to Mount Zion, unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly of the church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. See that ye refuse not him that speaketh, for if they escape not who refused him that spake on the earth, much more shall we not escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven, whose voice then shook the earth, but now hath promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signified the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Wherefore, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. For our God is a consuming fire. This is our reading for this week. And I hope again that you have your templates ready. If you're a first timer on Markup Monday, I should have told you welcome. Glad that you're here. Let us know in the comments that you're a newbie. Watch the love is going to get around you, and don't be shy about jumping into the comments tonight. Don't you all forget to click that thumbs up like button. Only half of you have done that so far. Doesn't cost you a thing, but it helps YouTube know the kind of content that you enjoy, and it helps this content appear for others who may be interested in similar subject matter. So what we're going to do tonight is this is just a reading of the text. I am not here to teach the lesson. We're going to look at what do we see? What does this remind you of? What do you think about? What do you feel? All right, and I'm going to take that off because I know that it clicks my AirPod. Forgive me on that. All right, and I'll be watching in your comments for you to share with me your feedback. All right. First thing I did was look at the first page of the markup document kind of gives me personal reflections on the theme. And part of my reflection was the words that I want to define. And so the first question that I asked myself is, I know that we've been talking about faith for now, this will be 4 weeks. And one thing I said in the very beginning is that I always feel like when we're going into series that are about faith, that you can't, or I can't go in with just my standard definition of what I think faith is. Like, I believe these lesson series come to, I wrote this question down. How has my definition of faith changed or expanded through this study of the last several weeks? So why is character such a faith builder, Sister King? I love that reflection question right there. Why is it such a character builder? And I believe that, like, looking at these lessons, like looking at words like endurance and, being able to last, looking at all of our daily readings, this is really about, like, through life, as I go through the stuff in life, the tough stuff, the daily stuff, how is my faith built? How does it grow? So I wrote that down as a reflection for myself. I wanted to define the words inspired, or inspires, and provokes. I said that inspires, and you can tell me what you believe inspires means. Inspires, if anybody else is freezing, you can let me know. If I need to stop, I'll do that, but let me know. I'll watch the comments. Inspires for me is something that is being provoked, and that's just the word that I wrote down. And then for gratitude, I said gratitude for me is an awareness of what I have, what I am, what I experience, and really sitting in a place of thanks as a result of that awareness. But for me, and you may notice, like in my morning devotion, when we've done, thank you, Sister Grady, when we have done the daily reading challenge, that's the last thing I ask you to do is like, what is your space of gratitude? And I believe that when, for me, gratitude is like, doesn't mean that everything is perfect, but as opposed to focusing on everything that may not be right, situating myself in the good things that are happening and what I know as a point of affirmation, based on what I am experiencing and where I sit. So, Sister Patrice says, my overall question to the title was how. All right. So her question is, how does faith inspire gratitude? I love that. Yes, Sister Cindy, giving thanks for what you have, good or bad. Absolutely. So those were my words that I wanted to define. Let me know if there are other words that you wanted to define or something that you thought about that. I don't think I connected. Wow. Okay. I don't think I connected faith to gratitude. That's very interesting because I don't know that I have either, Sister Patrice. But yeah, I think now that I am thinking consciously about it, I think in a way, I think my faith is built based on being grateful, um, and understanding that, what I have and where I am, things could be very, very different. So, all right, let's read. You know how Markup Monday works. I'm going to read it to you in small chunks. You're going to let me know those things we talked about, what you see, what you think, what you feel, what it reminds you of. Verses 18 and 19. For ye are not come unto the mountain that might be touched, and that burn with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest, and the sound of the trumpet and the voice of words, which voice they heard entreated that the word should not be spoken to them anymore. All right, let's go. Let's go on your markup document. And yes, I used all my colored pencils. They stay on my desk. I had all of them here. Sister Joanne says the word for makes me look at what was said before, or since we have come to this God that is now approachable. Yeah. And we should be able to endure and be grateful. And I like that you said that it does start with the word for. We need to figure out what's happened. I literally wrote this down that last week we were in chapter 12. We did verses 1 through 11. So go ahead and read, 12 through 17. And we have the background of this already. We already know. I didn't even start with background because we've been in Hebrews now 4 weeks. What I am going to try to post this week is the background that one of our teenagers did when we started this lesson series. I thought she did a beautiful job with our class in my local church. So I want to share that. But the background is set for us at this point, and we've already been in this chapter. Like last week, we know that faith is endurance. Now we know that it's gratitude, Sister Cindy. Absolutely. So I just restated some things. You are not at a mountain. And I took this mountain to mean like at a physical place. And in fact, the text says that something that can be touched. So that's why I got to physical. You're not there. You're not at this place that was, I said, this mountain seemed to carry a sensory experience. I see both sights and sounds that took place at the mountain. The sights that I wrote down are, yeah, Sister Danette, these sights are scary. Like all of this. Now, let me just be honest. I like a good little thunder coming through. I'm good for a good thunderstorm, but every now and then those cracks of thunder get to be a whole lot. So I cannot, like when I think of what happened at this mountain, it is always kind of it's an awing and a scary kind of thing. And the images here, the sights that I see are fire and darkness and wind. And whenever I think about this scene, and by the way, I put this in the notes too. When did this whole mountain situation happen? Who was involved in this? And I did write down the children of Israel. But yes, when did this happen? Why did this happen? Where is your mountain? Are there animals there? Sister Cindy says. This is not the end of the world, Sister Anissa. Absolutely. But this mountain experience was sensory with sights, and then there are sounds that are mentioned in verse 19. There is a sound of a trumpet, and then there is an audible voice. And I wrote down the words, this seemed to be an overwhelming experience, right? Because the voice is so much that they asked the speaker to stop talking. And yes, you should go back and familiarize yourself with when that happened and what was going on that day. On my side margin, I just wrote that this scene for me sort of represents or speaks to this awesome and overwhelming presence of God. And I just wrote down that he's not common and he's not ordinary. Like, this experience with him was not just like hanging out on a cool day, but there was something dreadful and terrifying about the presence of God. Sister Joanne says, at first it was a scary sight to come to God because the mountain was on fire, shaken by God's presence. But God is not scary. He's a loving and approachable God. Absolutely. And that's why it starts by telling them, this is not your life. You're not there. That's not what we're doing here. You're not in that situation. So if I am not in that situation, then where exactly am I? All right. And we'll get there in just a moment. We'll get there by the time we get to verse 22, because verse 22 starts with our but we have something on this side. We've got this setup of this scary mountain, this scary scene, God whose voice is scary, his presence that is dreadful. Thank you, Brother Eric Carter. Gratitude is thanking God for things being as well as they are. I love that. Sister Cindy says, are you killing your sin on that mountain, even though it's scary if you spirit? Okay. Let's see what else here. Am I missing anything? Okay, I got Sister Danette's comment. Let's go to verses 20 and 21. For they could not endure that which was commanded. And if so much as a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned or thrust with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. Again, this scenario is scary. It's untouchable. Like, as I look at verse 22, there is a command here, not like a nice suggestion, but by command. It's not approachable. Nothing and no one can touch it. So I'm looking at even the animals. Like, I wrote that down. Like, the rules, I wrote down the rules apply to all. If Moses was scared, it was powerful. Absolutely, Sister Danette. Elder Roy says, you have not come. You don't have to go there anymore. This presence that was on the mountain is in you. Absolutely. So yeah, you don't have to worry about having a situation where nothing and no one can touch. And this is a scary scene. The previous situation, even Moses, Sister Jeanette just said the same thing. I wrote down that Moses was a leader. There was an expectation of strength and leadership from him. But even in that moment, in that experience, like the sight, the presence of God, he was affected by the moment. The effect, she told us, was his own fear. Even, in fact, he says, I'm not just a little scared. I exceedingly fear. That means I am scared. Skurred. Moses was scared and shaking in his boots. Yes, the leader gets terrified, Sister Joanne. Absolutely. Let's go to verses 22 through 24, because we've already had kind of a scenario on this side, but we start with the word but in 22. That means we've got something different on the other side. All right. So you're not here. You're not in verses, what do we have, 18 through 21. But here's where you are, verse 22. But something different on the other side. Ye are come unto Mount Zion, unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men and men made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. Woo, that's a whole lot, but let's chop down through here. Let's see what we got going. Yes, Sister King, we have Moses versus Jesus. He was fearful, and Jesus would say, fear not. What would Jesus do? So yeah, we absolutely have a comparison of experiences, a comparison of access, a comparison even of people here, and even, again, the access that we now have. See, leaders, leaders should be fearful, yes, in the presence of God. And Sister Jeanette, that's why in my margin I just wrote down, again, I go back to this idea that God is not common or ordinary. And I think even as I was reading this passage, overall, it made me feel like maybe kind of a caution, because I do believe, like, where we're going in this part of the reading right now tells me that I have a different level of access, and I have this ability to have relationship, and I don't have to have that kind of scary, I'm going to call it that Old Testament relationship. But at the same time, reading this made me feel, that's why I wrote down the words, not common and not ordinary, because I don't believe that we should make the experience with God. And even I was thinking about even in our worship services, that we don't become so casual that we lose the fear and the awe and the reverence and the respect of God. Because throughout this passage, I think that was kind of this recurring theme for me. In fact, it ends with saying he's a consuming fire. So the words, fear and quaking and just understanding that he's to be reverenced are very present in here. So I don't know why I was kind of thinking that. No longer a place of fear, but joy. Yes, Evangelist Glenn, don't take it lightly. Sometimes as members, we don't see our leaders that are also human, and they get afraid just like you and I do. Absolutely, Sister Joanne. Sister Cindy says Moses was a reluctant leader, but God told him that he would be with him. Nothing to fear but fear itself. Let's see here. Yeah, don't take it lightly. Let me keep going here. He says, but you are come unto Mount Zion. The first thing I ask is, who is you? Make sure that you identify again who is the audience, who is you. And quite frankly, you is you, and even you and I. It's you in this text, but it's also you and I. You have now come to a different place. You're not there, but you are come unto Mount Zion. And one translation calls it Sion, S-I-O-N, another Zion, Z-I-O-N. But I wrote down, why is this place marked in the text? Why is this place important? What do we need to know about Mount Zion? Why is it called the city of God? Why is it the heavenly Jerusalem? Y'all know I got real excited because y'all know I just got back from the land that's holy. So when I read stuff like this, I get all worked up. All right. Brother Truesdale, Stan, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Sister Joanne says, when we approach God, I had the idea that I had to come before this assembly or host a being that is there to help me make it to the finish line. I also said that I note that you've come to a place and look what you're surrounded by. You are in the company of, you join the chorus of, you are among a company of angels. And for me, I feel like this passage is intended to convey some level of joy, or a joyous time, or a joyous setting, or a joyous situation, which feels very different than fire and darkness and wind and scary voices. But now you're in this place, this city of God with angels. And I wrote it this way: you are a part of a special group. Verse 23 makes me feel like that general assembly, the church of the firstborn. That's like a special, yes, community of people, Sister Joanne. Absolutely. Community matters, right? And y'all know how I feel about community, especially in our faith. I believe that community is essential to our faith. So I see this idea of community, of people who share something. I wrote it this way: an assembly or a collective of the firstborn. What are the firstborn? Whose names are written in heaven. Do we care if our names are written in heaven anymore? Do we think about that? And I said, good evening, Sister Catherine. I said, this feels exciting. To verse 24 made me feel excited. I think somebody mentioned this earlier, that it is exciting to me to know that I have the ability to come directly and personally to Jesus. Sister Anissa says, is this the introduction of the second covenant? Oh, thank you, Sister Catherine. Yes, y'all, please click that thumbs up like button. But it's exciting to me that I have the ability to come to Jesus directly. And this text also says that, and to Jesus, who was the mediator of the new covenant. So two things: what is a mediator? And remember, when you teach people, they may not know. I know we talk about him being the mediator all the time, but suppose you have a visitor, suppose you have a new convert, they don't know these King Jamesy words. But what is the mediator? Why is he the mediator between the old and the new covenant? What does that mean to have him as the mediator? What is the old system? What is the new system? I said he is the go-between between the old and the new. And then I asked the question, why is a mediator even needed? Like, what is the purpose of a mediator? And in context, why is the mediator even needed? I think it's comparing, yes, the old and the new, Sister Allen, absolutely. Elder Worthington says, just because we haven't seen God do those things doesn't mean that he can't or won't. I also thank you, Elder, for that. I also underline the words better things. And to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. So what better things feels exciting, but what does that mean? Better things, better than the vengeance of, what did I write here? Better than vengeance as the blood of Abel. And in my margin, I just wrote down, I remember a scripture that talks about Abel's blood crying out from the earth. And I wrote that down because I want to go back and find that. I don't have anything bright to say, but when I saw that word about the blood or that of Abel and the blood, it just reminded me of his blood crying out. Yeah, why Abel, Sister Cindy? I agree with that. Why Abel? All right, let's keep going here. Again, we're not teaching tonight. We're just reading and observing the text. Verses 25 through 27. See that ye refuse not him that speaketh, for they escape not who refused him that spake on earth. Much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven, whose voice then shook the earth, but now hath promised, saying, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of the things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Woo, that's very King Jamesy, but I just made a big old star. See that big star I made by verse 27? I'll get there in a minute because I kind of liked verse 27. I did. I liked it. Let's keep going here. What do you see, feel, remind you of in verses 25 through 27? A warning for rejecting God. Thank you, Sister Geraldine. Let me just get to the middle of what I wrote in here. That this, where did I put it? I know I wrote it in here because I was so excited to make this connection. I said that this reminded me of today's daily reading. Did y'all read today's daily reading? I think it was it Jeremiah chapter 33, verses 1 through 9, that talked about the voice of warning and the responsibility to warn people. Yeah, go look at the Sunday school or the review in 30 seconds. That's what it was about. So that's what it reminded me of. Don't ignore or refuse to hear a warning or someone speaking. Yeah, there is a warning for rejecting God. Absolutely, Sister Geraldine. And don't refuse the power or the strong who can help you, Sister Cindy. And I'm going to ask a question on that. Like, what causes us to refuse things sometimes? Why do we push away? What is it inside of us or human behavior that sometimes we just don't want to hear? All right, that's kind of it's Isaiah 32. Thank you, Sister Marcy. It's been a long day, but I did read this morning. I sure did. Let's see here. Let's see. And I was wrong altogether. It was Ezekiel chapter 33, verses 1 through 9. I wasn't going to be satisfied unless I went back and did that. It was Ezekiel 33, verses 1 through 9, today's daily reading, that talked about the warning. So, yes, why do we refuse? A thorough house cleaning, Sister Joanne. God keeps his promise, Sister Nash, absolutely. And yes, Sister Joanne, God is going to clean house. He is going to clean house. And so don't refuse those who can help you. I like what Sister Cindy is saying. Don't refuse to hear the one who is speaking. And I just see that there was a problem before. And when I read this passage, it was kind of like, to me, in my head, I could just hear, you saw somebody before who refused to hear, and how did that work out for them? I literally wrote that down. Like, how did that work out for you? That the Israelites, when attempting to escape, did not want to hear Moses, and as a result, they stayed bound. And so, what more do you expect? And when I read that, like, I think about, a thing by its pattern. So if this is giving us a pattern and it's showing you that didn't work out too well in the past when someone did not pay attention to the warning, I think that is, we can know what to reasonably anticipate by a pattern. So again, what do you expect? I reflected on the importance of voices. Here's where I put this. It reminds me of today's daily readings and warnings. Who do you listen to? Why is listening important? And why is it important to be able to discern the voices that are speaking to you, to know when you should move or react or be affected? God has got to get rid of the junk, the fake, the religious stuff. And not only the essential things will remain. Absolutely, Sister Allen. sometimes we push away that which we don't understand or we're frightened of, Sister Cindy. I do agree with you on that. I guess I restated verse 26. When God spoke, going back to that mountain, it shook, but there is one more promise. And here's the promise in verses 26 and 27, that he is not just going to shake the heaven or earth, but he's also going to shake the heaven. And I just made a note, like, why is that important? Like, deeply, what does, I don't just want to restate it, but I literally wrote, what does that mean? That creation will be shaken and taken away. And here's why I got excited. I just wrote down the word unshakable, that only the unshakable things are going to remain. And so I want to spend some time thinking about what it is to be unshakable. What does that really, really mean? That feels exciting. There's a whole lot of shaking going on. And it seems that our attention is needed, Sister Patrice. Absolutely. Sister Connerson says, never reject a message because it makes you uncomfortable. Learn to accept the correction. And you know what, Sister Connerson, that, as you say it that way, takes me to the end of our lesson from yesterday, right? Where I think it was telling us that a father chastens the one that he loves, and one who's not chastening, the father doesn't love them, the parent doesn't love them. And so learning to take correction and hear warning and to be open to that, I think, is a mindset shift. And we had a cool class yesterday. Like, the teenagers have been hanging out with us in my young adult class, and that is what we ended on. Like, no, nobody like likes to be corrected, but we need to think about what correction, why the voices are coming to us, why God puts those people in our lives, and learning, to Sister Connerson's point, to value correction even when it doesn't feel good, because no, we don't love it. All right. He has no pleasure in the soul that draws back. Hey, Kippy B. Sister Cindy, the mountains will tremble, but our faith will move mountains. Our faith should be unshakable. We love Dr. Latrice Ryan, who uses that in her ministry, Unshakable Faith. Sister Joanne, life will bring things into your life, but you will want to quit, but don't. And so I think that's why I wrote that down, Sister Allen, like, don't quit. Be unshakable. Like, the things that remain are the things that cannot be shaken. So I want to spend some time on that. And I literally wrote this down. I love unshakable. 28 and 29, and we're done. Wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved. Let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear, for our God is a consuming fire. So there's that. I told you earlier that I was kind of sitting with this whole feeling of, like, the balance of, nope, not a scary relationship. Yep, we have access to God. It's a beautiful thing. Jesus is the mediator. And at the same time, the balance of knowing that he is to be feared. I said that we're receiving something, a kingdom that cannot be shaken. It will remain. It is forever. That's how that made me feel. God is trying to get our attention, Sister Nash says, in the shaking. I love that. But that which remains is forever. I see the words let us. So when I see let us, that is a call to action. I wrote down the word intentionality. To me, that is, when you're saying let's do this, let us do this, let us focus, let us figure out our behavior, let us sort out the stuff that we don't need and get really laser focused on what it means to do this thing intentionally. And here's where I picked up the gratitude message. Let us have grace. And I wrote down the words be grateful. Because in this posture, we can serve and worship. We can best serve and worship God. Now that I've talked to y'all a whole lot, I know what I wrote here. I don't disagree with what I wrote, but I want to work through that a little bit more, because I know that's my gratitude spot. I know that now. I know that's my gratitude spot. See why we have to do this together? All right. Community, commune, unity. Yes, Elder Roy. Endurance, Sister Marcy. Sister Cindy says, persevere. I shall not be moved. Psalm 1, never give up. It's all related to our faith. Absolutely. Find the safe place and hold on. I love that, Sister King. And be grateful. Hold on, be grateful. And I ended by saying how we worship matters. We should not handle God in ways that are common. I see themes of godly fear, which are awe and reverence. And I just I wrote down the same words. God is a consuming fire. And I looked at the nature of fire, the fact that fire does so many things, that it cleanses, it destroys, it warms, it changes the property of things. But the word consuming is the difference maker. He is a consuming fire. So that for me is like literally taking up everything that cannot, it just, nothing can stand. It can last once it's consumed. Like, yeah, he's that powerful. Those are my thoughts. That was my markup. God is a consuming fire. Ha! Yes, Sister Connerson. He cannot be controlled, forced, or contained. He is a God of compassion. I love it. Thank y'all for marking up this passage with me from our legacy lesson series. There will be the kid pack uploaded tomorrow that goes along with this lesson. So if you are looking for the opportunity to have something for your young people, you can download it and run as many copies of it as you need to. It's a great tool. Even if you want to send it to your young people during the week, you can use it as a packet before class for young people to think about what they're coming into. You can use it as a packet that you give out in class, or maybe it's something that you send as an email, a touch point with your students after Sunday school to let them know you've been thinking about them. Send it on a Sunday night. Tell them to have a great week. See me over here giving out this free Sunday school juice over here, but it's a wonderful resource that's designed for you to use. I don't know if you saw a video that I did very impromptu yesterday after church. I went into the room with our teens and we did an unboxing, an opening of an Amazon package. I am so thrilled that my first coloring book is available on Amazon, and it is an affirmations coloring book, 52 pages. It's a memory verse coloring book. So the 52 pages are the 52 memory verses for the Sunday school lesson for this year. The first book is the Legacy Content Series. And so you will find an affirmation that's been written to go along with every memory verse. And then there's a reflection page that gives you a chance to really sit with the passage and connect with it. Y'all, you already know how I feel about studying God's word. This is not what I do on Sunday morning because I don't have anything else to do. It's not what I just do on Monday night because I have free time. But like legit, I want my life to be better. I want to be different. I want to look back year over year and see that God is growing me through the word. And for me, that does not happen through speed reading, but literally sitting with it and listening to God. What do you want me to hear? What do I learn about you? What do I learn about myself? And how are you growing me through the things that we read? So I hope that you'll check that out on Amazon. I think I put the link in the description box for this video. And if I did not, I'm going to take just a second and go over here and do that. I really, really am, because I want you to, I've already gotten very nice notes. People are ordering their coloring books. It is a beautiful way for you to personally connect with your lesson. But also, if it is a gift that you can help you with a little discount pricing for the coloring books. And so they'll make great gifts and great. Okay. I'm unstable. It says my internet is unstable, but